So I need to add to my BPO stories. I'm not always armed as a bank protection officer. Some different posts, they don't want us armed for different reasons. It's just how the contract between the private patrol business who I work for and the bank who is the client, the two really big national businesses. So they have different ways of analyzing communities, and it's kind of cool. The unarmed posts, the armed posts aren't edgy. It's this thing. I don't know all the business decision making because they feel pretty close to the same. Where like the communities just same people are in the bank. I think maybe it has to do with the proximity of the main roadway to the front of the bank and the proximity to the freeways. One of them is down, near the San Diego Mexican American border. Close enough. I don't know. That's one of the ones where I'm armed, but the unarmed posts, people. I can't tell you like our rules, like what we do and don't do. It's just a basic legal, tactical safety issue. But um, people do these funny things outside. It's like what people say to me conversationally, and then the rest of everything is like there'll be like little homeless issues. I swear the half the job is like kind of like being proactive about you kind of walk towards homeless people when they start to do something on the property that you just don't want them to do. But one of the things people bring up is like all their theories about guns and bank robberies and like whether it's worth it being a bank protection officer, like or why don't you have a flak jacket, or why do some people have flak jackets, or like why are you armed or why are you unarmed, or, like I don't know, all kinds of things. But one of the things that happened was this car drove up, and one day there was someone in the car drove up, and it's this car with like uh, plastic material for a back window and duct tape and stuff, and like a bunch of junk powder in the car. And like I don't know like what type of drinking and what type of drug use the people getting in and out of the car do or don't do. They're appropriate enough. They didn't like do anything wrong, but they're just like complaining and like they get out and they go like all these different directions, like gypsies almost. I'm like, oh man, what the heck, you know? Just like what? Why do misdirection at me? What I realize is people aren't really doing misdirection. When I stand there and I look, just like looking, it's like when someone has those highway patrol glasses on. You don't know where they're looking. They just like get skittish and nervous and they do different things. But until I realized that, I just was like trying to figure out what they're doing, and I just wasn't moving, like raising an eyebrow or something. We have hats on the post, and so the guy like moved his car, and then in the back seat there's a whole bunch of junk, and there was a broom handle sticking out of the back of the pile of junk, and it didn't have the end on it, and it had just like it was like a hollow tube sticking out, pointing right at me. And I just flashed in my mind like, what? There's enough room in the back of that vehicle for someone to be in a kneeling position, like with a rifle like this. But like that's the type of psych game that people who use too much drugs are like maybe gonna play. And then I'm like thinking about all the stuff they tell us about, stick close to the bank, go inside the bank, if something weird is going on. Um, I just like moved out sideways so I could see the door and still see the people. And then this dude like leaves, and I go, okay, fine. Well, he comes back another day, and he has somebody else sitting shotgun, and they're like listening to some guy rapping from a prison jail phone. It was really loud music. I was like, this is all right, whatever. Then they leave. Oh, and that guy had like a shiesty on, like a face mask. I'm like, is this a psych game these guys are trying to play? Like they show up with like burglar face mask. It was beyond COVID face mask. It's having this prison rapper rap from prison on some like B grade track, which that's common enough in hip hop. You know, It's nothing, but like the thing about like the way that broom handle was positioned, and I'm standing there, no flak jacket, no pistol, just like, dude, I'm not gonna try to make sure I get shot if someone is doing something weird and just like they're whacked on drugs and think it's gonna somehow get them some money. It's so locked behind all these bulletproof windows and safes and cash controls. Like, I mean, bank safety, you can see it now. It's changed since when our country was a little younger. You know, people have upped their tactics on bank robberies and whatnot. I think hacking's probably a bigger problem, but so this guy's come back, and I have a little bit of a stiff back, right? The guy parks on the other side of the parking lot, and it's only 2 rows. Well, the guy, one dude goes in, and I didn't notice that there was someone sitting shotgun. I'm just kind of like, there's nothing going on there. I just sort of like happened to stand right where the shotgun seat was, and I like pushed my back against the wall like this, and I was like tilting forward just to stretch my lower back a little. And I was looking right out further out in the parking lot just to like lean forward. I guess I was looking right over the side rear view mirror of the passenger seat, and the dude sitting shotgun, who I didn't even notice, happened to be the guy who had the burglar shiesty face mask on before, hops out and like jumps and turns towards me. He's like, bam, like this. He has two chrome ratchets like this, like socket wrench ratchets in one hand, and a big old rock. And he's like holding the rock like it's a rock that's like this size. He's like, and he like puts him in his hoodie sweatshirt, but he was like trying to do it smooth, so he wasn't like, "Hey, I'll throw this rock at you if you come near me," or something. Like, it was real weird. I was pretty sure that he was real paranoid because I wasn't even aware he was in the vehicle, and so like he just like kept doing these funny things with these socket ratchets and they're chrome handled. Just wondering, like, what are you guys driving around and you're pretending like you have guns all day, listening to this prison gangster music, like coming to the bank all the time. It just weirded me out. So I again moved over sideways on the other side of the parking lot so I could see them and see the door and like the ATMs. Just keep an eye on things. And like the bank manager walked in, I was like, those guys are kind of weird. I just go, I didn't know if she was saying like, oh, can you please do something, or if she was just like, wow, people are weird. I was like, yeah, I know the other guy's friends in the bank. I'm just kind of keeping an eye on things. They've been here a few days in a row. I don't like nothing. There's nothing you can do. People are just really odd, and they have bank accounts. Um, and it is just almost indefinitely drug use. Man, I sound like such an idiot not saying that it's drug use. It's drug use. It's people with drug problems on the streets coming into banks. I mean, people come in there like crazy for other reasons. They're like less drug use looking, but they're like really crazy about what they're demanding about one of their accounts. And we don't escort people out of the banks. Um, just kind of are there as another pair of eyes with a phone for the police. We keep, it makes people think twice about like, do they want to try to rob the place? I don't really have the statistics on bank robbery, but I really don't think that it's a high percentage thing to go in there and do a violent bank robbery. I think it's much. I think people just go in and do more smooth, littler things. Like probably go in and just hand the teller a note and say, I have a high explosive, like put your briefcase right there. I have a huge bomb in this briefcase. Put several $100s down through the window and I'll leave. Like, and then leave the briefcase. You definitely have the FBI and all kinds of people after you. But they say like those, you see the documentaries on it, like people are just smooth. They walk in and they leave. They never quite actually show a weapon. It's still considered a violent crime to threaten violence if someone doesn't see the actual tool of violence, like the bomb or the gun. So I don't know. People just play funny games, and then there's people who try to like camp out in the parking lot. That's most of the stuff. Is people try to camp out or walk up to people at the ATM. Like this other thing, I just had like a fear in the back of my mind. I'm like, well, I don't want to be the person who does nothing when something weird's going on, and then it does turn into something. I am quieting that part of my mind down because people are just weird. They're not doing anything, but it's more customer service. Like letting the rest of the patrons feel okay, like you're paying attention to something. Like one day, someone was sitting at the front door and they were like fiddling around, like listening to music and playing like air guitar. It was before the bank opened, and one of the last bank managers came through. And when they were coming up, like I was pretty sure that they were gonna open the doors from the inside, and the guy was gonna walk in and just like do regular bank stuff. I was just gonna kind of like keep an eye on and make sure, but there's really no danger because the bankers are all behind the bulletproof glass windows and stuff. Um, but when the other manager was walking in, I just kind of like got down his level, like, "Hey, so are you waiting for the bank to open to go in there and take care of a banking matter?" He said, "Oh yeah, yeah, yeah." He's just listening to his music, doing air guitar. Like that's an example of someone just being eccentric, idiosyncratic, being into music. You know, he was a little homeless looking, but he had a backpack and clean clothes. You can't be judgmental about people, especially. I mean, the idea of banks really want to be like a thing for the people. We're not trying, and we're their private patrol. We're not their customer service, but the thing about greeting people is the same with convenience stores. You greet people, and there's a human contact, and then that's it. And then they just like, if they were mad, maybe they're less mad, and they have a better day in there or whatever. Like, it just reduces problems. Yeah, I should change this to be homeless people stories rather than bank protection BPO stories. But that's my stories for the week. I have a few more, but they're all like the same ish. I don't know. Oh, one guy was left his shopping cart full of bottles in the back. I said, "Sir, he had some other trash can tied to it also." And he came back to get it, and I was like, "Sir, are those yours?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "Well, you can't be going through all those bottles on the property." He's like, "I gotta untie this trash can." I go, "No, you can't spend so much time on the property with these items. You just have to get off the property." He got all mad and left, and then he popped back out through the bushes and was like, "Ugh." It's like they're these little guerrilla street warriors who just like feel entitled to walk through the bank property. And honestly, they aren't really doing anything other than being on the property, but it makes people nervous. That's all. Because they don't know who these guys are. I see them all day long, all week long. Same people in the same patterns. Really don't think they're ever going to try to mug someone, but they are going to try to beg for money. And that bothers people because they don't know that it's just begging. I think they're like maybe going to get mugged. So one guy tricked me. He was like passing through the front of the parking lot, and then there's this way to turn down the alley, but there's the drive up windows, and I thought he was going past the drive up windows, and right at the very last second, he turned right out of my sight, right where the two ATMs were. And I was like, oh. And I just like did what we do. We just like kind of make eye contact, go, hey, like sort of just like shake our fingers, go, hey, like that, and walk towards someone, and they walk away out the side of the property. They don't really know what our authority is per se, or how much the authorities will or won't listen to us. Everything's under cameras. Like there's so many cameras at banks. I don't know. It's weird. It's like I know I'm not law enforcement, and I know that. And then I think like, oh, people are all friendly, but there's an element of potential danger. There's an element of people just maybe wanting to retaliate. There's vandalism sometimes at the banks. I try not to be like a type of way. That's one of our rules too. It's like if people are acting funny, you don't say to them what you think the reason for their acting funny is. Like, oh, hey, you crazy idiot, or like, hey, you druggie, or whatever. Like, I mean, negative language is much more harsh and precise than that, but I'm saying it in a category that's proper. I don't know, it's a weird thing. My whole goal is to do an armed guard position for the last year here while I'm working on my getting my startup all the way off the ground, doing crime victims advocacy and expert document system integrations of programs for different colleges. So we can get people using conditional logic and also using that to facilitate information intake for cases that they're working with criminal justice departments and local law enforcement to do crime victims advocacy. So I think I really just play a mind drama with myself most of the day and try to keep myself busy. And I've gravitated away from feeling like things are too serious. Like a couple things, like people on the streets on drugs can really cause you to like gaslight yourself, second guess yourself, and they are on. They do odd things and they alarm other people, but and then at the same time, I hope they just are bank patrons and need their monies and get their stuff together. That's that. So I don't know. I get manipulated a few times every day by some little thing like that. And then if you say something like try to be polite, but they think you're too harsh, to like get offended, like, oh what bro? Do I not look alright to come into the bank? I'm like I don't know. If I were you, I'd go take a shower and put on a collared shirt. But yeah, no, you're fine. Can't say that. They don't have a place. But it's just like the edginess. Because that's what sleeping outside will do. It will make you edgy. So I continue to pray for people every day and pray for patience, as we all should.